Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today what we're going to talk about is composting for beginners. Now I know some of you out there who are watching my videos have been composting for years, and well, you know, I guess this will kind of show you how I go about doing mine. This is really for those of you who are just starting out and just thinking about doing some composting. So let me show you a couple of things. First off, I want to show you behind me my compost bin. Now the compost bin, this is a concrete block compost bin, which I love because it's permanent. Alright, so I don't have to keep rebuilding it. I had started off with one made out of logs, like log cabin style. It was a bit awkward, didn't really care for it, so I went with this instead, and it's been fantastic. I love it. I'll link to the, right up here, I'll link up a video on how I went about making it. It cost me about $110 in materials and about an afternoon to make. Now, do you need a concrete block compost bin? No, you don't. Alright, let me show you this over here. Okay, so this is a really basic compost bin. Basically all it is some wire fencing done in a circle about 3 foot wide, and you just toss everything in there and let it rot down. Now, I've got a couple of sticks that I took off of my Mexican sunflower just to hold it in place. This is a real basic compost bin. You don't even have to use the wire. You can do just a basic pile. Another thing that a lot of people are doing is just making a U-shape out of 3 pallets. Another fantastic way to go about building a compost bin. I mean, like I said, you don't even have to have a compost bin. You can just toss it in a pile on the ground. Matter of fact, let me show you something over here. So this bed behind me is basically just compost. Now, it's got some sand from the soil up underneath it, but basically all I did is I set out the frame around it and just left it on the ground. I tilled the ground up to kill all the weeds, and then I started piling on compost. I took a whole summer and put pretty much almost all of my my grass clippings and any compost from the kitchen, compost from the garden, tossed it all in there. I mean, I got it to where it was about 3 foot tall. It all composted down, and now it's nice rich soil. You can see everything in here is growing fantastic, and that's all from that compost. All right. The biggest component of compost for me is grass clippings. And what you'll see behind you is basically all my grass clippings from yesterday. Now, it's got leaves and such mixed in. It's got some grass mixed in. And you'll see that a lot of this is kind of brown. This time of year, because the grass hasn't really started growing in, it actually is primarily dead grass. Alright, so even in this pile here that is just grass clippings, you can see that the temperature has gotten up to 125 degrees or so just by itself.
Fahrenheit, and that's what, specifically.
Huh?
Fahrenheit specifically.
Yeah, 125 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius. That would be on fire. So basically, you can see that it's already started the composting action. All right, that heat is created by the bacteria and stuff breaking it down. Now, why are we making compost? Compost is basically a speeded up natural process that takes vegetative material, or anything that comes from vegetative material, or living materials, and then turns it into good fertilizer. Okay, all them bacteria get in there, break it all down into nice rich soil that you can use in your garden as an alternative to fertilizer. So then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make some layers. Now, you'll hear a lot of people talk about how you have to do a lasagna. I mean, you don't have to do anything. It does help it break down a bit faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this compost, the wood, grass clippings out, and I'm going to start building my layers. Alright, so what do I make my compost out of? Well, like I said, I've got a lot of grass clippings here. This is all the clippings from yesterday. Now, I also use cardboard. I'll take cardboard, I'll rip it up, and toss cardboard in there. Now, you don't have to rip it up if you're willing to wait. It'll still break down even not being ripped. But it'll break down a lot faster if you rip it up into smaller pieces. Because in each one of these edges is a place for your bacteria and stuff to get in there and start invading and actually start breaking it down a lot faster. Now you can use corrugated cardboard like this, or you can use things like honey bun boxes, cereal boxes, paper plates. Basically anything made of cardboard of any sort can be broken down. And I know this because I've done it multiple times. All right, another thing you can use is paper towels. Now we save all of our paper towels, and I take them and I put them in my compost. Now the one thing I will tell you is if you got them kind of packed down in here, you're going to want to break them up a little bit, loosen them up. How do we get plastic in our paper towels? And it's also a great way to reuse your plastic bags for a second purpose. Now as I go through and I do this, I moisten each successive layer. Now I don't soak it down, I just moisten it. I do try and soak the paper towels a bit more because they'll hold a bit of moisture, which is one of the reasons why I think they do so well in the compost. All right, so then we're going to take and do our lasagna thing, and we're going to make another layer. All right. Now, if you're looking at greens and browns, grass clippings are a green, and paper towels are a brown. Now, a lot of people will talk to you about the ratios and all that. I think that's a bunch of crap. Put what you got into your compost. Now, another thing we use is shredded paper. Now, this is all of our junk mail for the past few weeks. I'll throw that in as well. And because it's shredded, it composts down very well. All right. And then, let me show you another thing here. All right, so one of the things I've got here is a pile of oregano that I have cut up, and you can see it's got kind of woody stems. Now, those woody stems will take a bit longer to break down in the compost bin because they are woody. Also, I've got some collard green that had gone crazy and was getting out into my path, so I had to cut it back. And again, these will take a bit longer because they're thicker, heavier stalks. They'll take a bit longer to break down. But what you can do is run them over with a mower, a bagging mower, and bag them all up, and it'll chop everything down nice and fine and put it into your compost. So a mower, a nice mower like that will make a quick work out of that big old pile of sticks and such. Chop it up nice and fine, make you a nice green layer. And then whatever's left behind, I mean, you can keep running it over. I can just go gather it up and toss it in with the rest. All right. So there I've got a green and a brown layer. So we'll toss some more grass clippings on. And then we'll wet it down. Don't forget to wet down your individual layers, because just like any other form of life, bacteria and microbes require food, water, and air to survive. There we go, just about that much water. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. All right, another thing you can use, along with your kitchen waste, which I didn't have a lot of kitchen waste unfortunately today, but this is my coffee filters and coffee grounds. All right, so just sprinkle them on. Now this counts as a green because it's moist material from in your kitchen and such. Then another thing you can use is bathroom trash. All right, all your paper towel your toilet paper tubes, tissues, even Q-tips will break down. All of that will break down very nicely in your compost. All right, we're going to throw some more cardboard on there. Now I like to let my cardboard sit out in the rain a few weeks before I toss it in. Makes it easier to tear and also to take any tape off, because the tape starts to separate away from the cardboard after it's been wet for a little while. Now I know a lot of people would say never put colored cardboard in. Yeah, whatever. I'll leave it at that. Whatever. You do you, but I put it all in. If it will break down, it goes in the compost. All right, now all of this is nutrients that were not in my yard. See, all these grass clippings, that comes from my yard. That's nutrients that were in the soil that have been drawn up into the grass, and I'm just moving it from one spot to another. This came from trees from elsewhere, and so it's a great addition to my garden because it's extra. And that's one of the beauties of junk mail, is they're actually sending me fertilizer for my garden for free. Isn't that nice of them? All right, so we're going to cover this all back up.
By the way, what's up with the green and the brown layer distinction?
One is carbon and the other is like nitrogen. But having the greens and the browns together, all right, ends up making the compost break down a lot faster and be a lot more nutritious. So you can do leaves by themselves, but if you do leaves by themselves, what'll end up happening is it'll take forever to break down. And that's why people have something called leaf mold, because they take leaves and they just stack the leaves up, and it'll take a year or better for that to break down on its own. All right, now that's the pile. All right, it's got multiple different layers in it. And like I said, the big key behind the layers is to make it break down faster and also to increase the nutrient density. You got a lot of different things in there to rot down. Just like what you'd have in a forest, you're going to have some weeds, you're going to have some leaves, you're going to have some sticks. You're going to have a lot of different materials that are going to rot down in the wintertime, become this nice fertile soil that the trees and everything grow very well into. All right, now the last step that I like to do is I like to take some existing compost, if you have any, because this is going to be rich in various different microbes and all. And I'll put a few scoops of this on top of the new compost as a type of seed material. And then I'll wet that down as well. Now, a lot of different other things that you can add into compost. Urine is a great one. I've kind of got this one hidden back here in the corner, so if I want to pee in my compost, I can come out here and pee in my compost. You can also pee in a bottle or a bucket and then bring that out and dump it on your compost. It's not poisonous, it's not bad. In all actuality, it's a fantastic addition to your garden. Urine is nature's ammonia and nitrogen fertilizer. It's a fantastic thing to add to your garden. Now, you may not want to pee on your crops that you're planning to eat. I mean, that's just kind of rude. That's why I put it in the compost, so that it has a chance to break down. And it will break down just fine. Some of the other things you can do, like I did this small compost bin. If you don't have space for a huge pile, you can do the smaller compost bin, but you got to get your layers much better, more green and not quite as much brown, in order to make it break down in something this small. You really want that volume, because that volume is what generates the heat, and the heat helps to break down what's in there and also kill off weed seeds and any other bad bacteria and so on. But this is an alternative, and you can get a bigger trash can. These trash cans go for 25, 30 bucks, and you can just drill some holes in the sides and in the bottom and then put your compost in there. And then if you want to turn it, you just take it, dump it out, and then put it all back into the bin. That's another viable option. Though I gotta say, man, this concrete compost, the concrete block compost bin has been so much better than anything else I've tried. And the advantage too, I've got 3 cells, so what I'm going to be doing, this one over here has gotten down to 120 degrees, so it's starting to cool off. Once it gets down to 100, 110, I'll take it, toss it over here, thereby mixing my compost up, let it break down a little bit further, and it'll be ready to go in the garden. In this compost bin, I can make compost, as long as it stays warm and fairly moist out, in about a month. All right, reasonably decent, pretty well broken down compost. 2 months and it's perfect. All right, so that's how you go about making compost. You need a place to put it. You need some materials. You want to try and layer it initially, though it doesn't need to stay layered. You just need a good mixture of browns and greens, and basically whatever you got around that will rot down. Paper products, cardboard products, all of these will rot down just fine and provide nutrients for your soil. That's how I make compost, and if you're a beginner, this is how I recommend you do it. So thanks once again for stopping by. I really do appreciate you all watching my videos. Do me a favor, give me a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think. But most importantly, grow some. Grow some compost so you can grow your soil. All right, thanks once again. Y'all come back and see me.